Hi, welcome back to one of my videos. This is how to do the decrease on the crown of a chunky basic beanie. I'm using larger needles and two strands of DK. So let's do the decrease on the crown. This video is for the decrease on the crown. I have knitted 15 centimeters of my 3x3 rib. As I'm looking for 15 centimeters, as it's going to be a child's beanie, this is the wrong side, which starts with a purl 3, knit 3, and the right side of the beanie is a knit 1, purl 3, knit 3, purl 3, knit 3, all the way to the end, which ends in knit 3. I'm putting a marker to remind me which is the front of the beanie as I decrease, as I absolutely want this knit stitch here on the edge to be on the outside or the right side, so when I sew up the invisible seam. I'm also putting stitch markers just one row below. That is for sewing up, one row below, because when I sew up the crown it's not easy to see where the rows are. So when I start sewing up the side, I want to be sure that my rows are in the correct place. I'm going to be decreasing on the purl stitches. I'm decreasing on every uneven row, so it's row 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. And I'm going to decrease the purls until I'm left with just knit stitches. On the back of the work or the even rows, I'll be working across the stitches as they present. So if it presents as a purl stitch, I'll do it. If it presents as a knit stitch, I'll knit it. So let's get started. This is a 7.5 millimeter. I'm not particularly keen on them because they're made of plastic, but the pattern did call for 7.5. I'm knitting one. Let's move this slightly. I'm knitting one, then I am purling one, and I'm purling two together. As far as possible, I want to keep this knit stitch here without using it as a decrease. I'm knitting across 3, I purl 1, I purl 2 together, give a little tug after each decrease, I knit 3, I purl 1, I purl 2 together, I give a little tug to pick up any slack, knit 3, I find the plastic needles, the yarn tends to stick. Just my preference is metal needles. So I work across the row, decreasing in the purl section. I did make some more beanies with Chunky, but I added 6 stitches. If you want to increase or decrease, do it in a multiple of 6. because the pattern is over 6 stitches. It's knit 3, pull 3, or pull 3, knit 3. Come to the end, I've got knit 3. Now I'm turning, and the next row has no decrease, so I just work across the row as the stitch present. So I have 3 purls, I have a knit and another knit, then I have 3 purls, I have 2 knits, 3 purls, 2 knits, 3 purls, 2 knits. It goes like that across the row. I think the problem is I have quite a tight tension, and so the plastic needles are unforgiving. They just don't allow my work to slide nicely. Coming to there's knit 2, and then the last one is a purl. It's my edge stitch. Coming to a decrease row, I'm respecting my edge stitch there. It's a knit 1, and the next 2 are purls. So I'm going to pull those ones together because we're decreasing on the purls. I'm knitting 3. I'm purling 2 together, giving it a little tug so I pick up the slack. Otherwise there's a bit of slack between the last stitch and the 2 that I've pulled together, and it will cause a tiny hole. It'll cause the like if you just leave it like that, look, there's quite a bit of slack there. I don't want that, so I give it a little tug. It'll cause the stitches later on to be loosened, and then the crown will have a loose effect to it. I'd rather have it the stitches neatly together. Give it a little tug on each decrease. Last 3 are knit stitches. Turn the work. This is the back of the work. There are no decreases on this row. I do the stitches as they present. 3 purls, 1 knit, 3 purls, and 1 knit. Work across the row. Now this row is a little bit different because I have 1 purl that is left. It's a decrease row. So now I'm going to start using my knit stitches, which are here, and I'm going to be knitting the knit stitch and the purl stitch together. So here's a knit stitch and a purl stitch. So my edge, I've been respecting it all the way, but now I need it for a decrease. So this will be the one row where I actually use it. Now, because of the way I knit and purl, I need to actually twist my stitch. So I'm putting it back on just to show you. This is how your work will present. You'll have a knit stitch and a purl stitch, and you're going to knit them both together. Because hopefully you don't twist your work the way I do. Then I'm knitting 2. And as you can see, this knit stitch is lying next to that purl stitch. I need to get rid of the purl stitch. So I'm just going to twist it back. So I have a knit and a purl. I'll be knitting them together. I'm knitting 2. There's my purl stitch, which I need to work away. I'll be knitting 2 together, giving it a little tug each time to keep those stitches nicely together and not creating loops. Knit 2 and knit 2 together. Knit 2 together all the way across the row. Knit 2 together. Knit 2 together. Oops, my yarn is breaking up because I'm trying to go too fast. Let me take my time. This is a little bit of a complicated stitch for me. I've done it so many times, I'm actually quite used to it. There's no need to rush. Knit 2 together, give it a little tug. Knit 2 together, give it a little tug. Knit 2 together, and that little tug, just to tighten up the slack. Knit 2 together. I'm now coming to my last 3 stitches. They are knits, and my row is finished. I turn it around, and now all the stitches are presenting as purls. Purl across the row. Let's just count and see how many we have here, just for curiosity's sake. So I started off with 61, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 31. So we literally have decreased by half the stitches. We've gone from 61 to 31. Purl across the row. I don't know the brand of the yarn. It was in a pile of label-less yarns. So I don't even know what it consists of. Is it pure acrylic? Is there a mix? I don't know. So now I have 31 stitches. And now I'm going to be decreasing with just the knits. So my edge stitch, I knit 1. And then I'm going to knit 2 together. Knit 1. Knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, each time giving that little tug. Knit 1, knit 2 together, little tug, knit 1, knit 2 together, little tug, knit 1. I'll continue across the row. Little tug. Last stitch presents as a knit. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. So we decreased by 10 stitches. But there's still too many stitches for the top of the crown. So there'll be another decreased row. pull across this one as it's the inside or the wrong side of the work. Turn. So I'm going to knit the first one. That's my edge, which I'll need to sew up. And then I'm going to knit 2 together across the row. Now giving it a decent tug each time, because it's really going to pick up all the slack. I'm going to do the last 2 together. Count our stitches, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, plus the extra one. I'm going to purl the last row, just simply because it's easier if the decrease is just a little bit further away from the absolute end of the crown. When I pull these stitches together, they will come closer together simply because they're not on the last row of the decrease. So there we go. I've ended up with 11 stitches. And this is where I cut the yarn. I check my tail to see how much I have. I don't have much there. So I need to cut a generous amount to sew up. I'm going to cut 3/4 of an arm. So what means I take my work, I pull the yarn all the way up, 3/4 of the way up my arm. I have 2 needles here. I have a sharp pointed one for when I stitch up this edge, and then I have a blunt one for threading through. So I'll start off with a blunt one. Pinch the work, thread it through. If it was a circular needle, I would have pushed it the other side and worked them one off at a time, but I can't with this. It's gone all the way through, made a complete circle. I pull it in, and I go through all those stitches again. And I do this now. Often I put the work aside and I sew it up later, and I have a whole pile of them. But I thread through these now, because sometimes when you come back later, you can forget which direction you're working in. And if you go back on yourself, even if you drop 1 stitch, you can unravel your whole hat. So now I can put it aside and I can make more, and then I'll stitch them up all together. So stitching up will be another video in the Basic Beanie Chunky playlist. Thank you for watching. Bye.